ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna. Today we are starting with a session on with a series on Mahabharata. Some short stories on Mahabharata. We will begin with the beginning. In the beginning there was Bharadwaja Muni, who was born to Brihaspati. Bharadwaja Muni's great grandson, King Hasti. This King Hasti, he was a person who established Hastinapura, and that is how the name Hastinapura came to that place, which later on had a very important part to play in the whole Mahabharata war of Kurukshetra. Hastinapura is what is known as present-day Meerut. Even today, if you go to Meerut, there is the portion of Meerut where the original Hastinapura was. It is now a kind of village kind of place, but that was the center of Hastinapura. And Hastinapura went on to become the capital of the emperors of the world. Today, of course, Meerut or Hastinapura is very underdeveloped. The reason for that is, after Parikshit Maharaj and his son Janamejaya, and after several descendants after them, there happened to be a great flood in the Meerut region, and at that time entire Hastinapura got flooded and got destroyed. So that entire old glory of Hastinapura is lost now. Anyway, Hasti was a great grandson of Bharadwaja Muni, and he established Hastinapura. Hasti's great grandson was Kuru. Now this Kuru was the king Kuru was the person who established Kurukshetra. That is how Kurukshetra got its name. And his descendants are called Kauravas. Kuru himself had 4 sons. And from one son called Jannu, there were a set of descendants. And from another son, there were another set of descendants. So one lineage of which came from King Kuru, there was one of the descendants of Kuru was Uparichara Vasu. This Uparichara Vasu, he had a child, he had a daughter through one fisherwoman called Matsyagarbha. We will come to that portion later. Through another son, the descendants of Kuru, through another son, Jannu, finally came to one king called Pratipa. This king Pratipa had 3 sons. They were Devapi, who was the eldest. The second was Shantanu, and the third was Bahlika. These 3 were brothers. Devapi, Shantanu, and Bahlika. Now, this Devapi, at a very young age, he left the palace, he left the kingdom and went to the forest. He renounced the world. And as a natural course, Shantanu, because he was the next elder son, he took up the throne. And when Shantanu was ruling the kingdom, there happened to be a great drought for about 12 years. There was no rainfall in the country. Then Shantanu consulted some learned people, and they told him that the reason for the drought is because you have committed an adharma. What is the adharma? In the presence of your elder brother, you have occupied the throne. And this is against the laws of dharma, and because of that, the rains are not being showered on the earth. So immediately Shantanu went to the forest, searched out his brother Devapi, and he requested him that you please take over the kingdom. But when Shantanu, his intentions were very good, they were noble, and he was searching for his brother Devapi. In the meantime, a minister of Shantanu, his name was Ashvavara, what he did some intrigues and instigated some scholars to go and turn the mind of Devapi. So by the time Shantanu had reached Devapi, already they had fed some wrong things into the mind of Devapi, and Devapi started blaspheming the Vedas. He rejected the Vedas, and he told Shantanu, I am not interested in your kingdom, I don't believe in the Vedas and all those kind of things. So Shantanu had to return back empty-handed. Now, because a person who is eligible to become a king only if he follows the Vedic dharma. He should be a dharmic person. This was the rule during those days. Now, because Devapi had become adharmic, so he lost the right to the throne, and Shantanu again resumed the throne. Now he was the legitimate heir to the throne, and therefore his occupying the throne was dharmic. And then because his occupation of the throne was justified, then Indra started sending showers, rain started coming, and the kingdom again became prosperous. And this Devapi, what happened was, later of course, Devapi took to the path of Dhyana Yoga. He corrected his mistake, and it is said that even today he lives in Kalapa Grama. And at the end of Kali Yuga, when the new Satya Yuga starts and Kalki will come and kill all the people, then that Devapi will come out and he will produce children, and the descendants will continue from there on. Now, in the meantime, Shantanu had got a boon. The boon that he had was, anybody who is old, if Shantanu touches any old person, that person will regain his youth. And so, because Shantanu could help others to enjoy their bodily sense gratification very nicely in their youth, that is how he got the name Shantanu. Means a person who can give lot of bodily comfort. That's the meaning of the word Shantanu. So this Shantanu was taking care of the kingdom. He was ruling very nicely. And one day, when he was, it so happened that he married Ganga Devi. He came across Ganga Devi, the personification of Ganga Maiya. And when he saw her, he proposed to her that I want to marry you. Now Ganga Devi put a condition that if you want to marry me, the condition is the children who are born out of our wedlock, you should not object to my treating them in whatever way I want. Now Shantanu was smitten by the beauty of Ganga Devi. He said, whatever this one condition you put, I am agreeable. You take my signature on a blank paper. That was Shantanu's mood. So he agreed to Ganga Devi's condition, and they both of them married, and in due course of time they had children. Whenever a child would be born, Ganga Devi would pick up the newborn baby, take it to the river and throw it into the river. This happened once, twice, thrice. After that, Shantanu became a little disappointed. He was thinking, we are having children, and all the children she is going and putting into the river. What is this? So, next child who is born, I will not allow her to do that. The next child that was born was a baby boy. And Ganga Maiya took that baby boy and was about to throw into the river. Shantanu came and stopped her. He said, no, I will not allow you to throw this child into the river. Then Ganga Maiya reminded him, see, the condition on which we married was, you will not stop me, you will not object to my treating my children in whatever way I want. Now you are going against your promise. Shantanu Maharaj said, yes, I cannot control, I cannot stop myself. I cannot keep seeing this wrong thing happening in front of my eyes. I cannot tolerate this, therefore I am stopping you. Then Ganga Devi said that if you are breaking your promise, then I will not stay with you anymore, I will leave you and go. Shantanu Maharaj said, I cannot help it, if you want to go, you go. So Ganga Devi left him and went. And she handed over the baby boy to Shantanu Maharaj. And that baby boy was none other than the great personality, the great devotee, the Mahajana, Bhishma Dev. Now this Bhishma Dev grew up into a handsome young man, very highly qualified, decorated with wonderful qualities, very dear to his father and to his all the other subjects and to the ministers and everybody. and he was a regent, he was a prince regent, he was going to become the next king. Now, during that time, what happened? Shantanu Maharaj was out on an expedition, and he happened to come across the daughter of Uparichara Vasu and Matsyagarbha. That daughter of Uparichara Vasu and Matsyagarbha was Satyavati. And this Satyavati, she was being raised by a fisherman. And that's how she was living in a community of fishermen. Although she was the daughter of Uparichara Vasu, who was a Kshatriya. But still, due to some reasons, due to some will of providence, she was being raised a fisherman. But because she was the daughter of a great personality, great king, she was also decorated with great qualities. And therefore, it had happened once that Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, he happened to be once crossing that place where Satyavati was, and he happened to see her. And then he blessed her with a child which happened to be Vyasadeva. So the Vyasadeva was a child of Parashara Muni and Satyavati. And Parashara Muni, he blessed her, saying that she would maintain her virginity, she would remain a Kanya even though she had given birth to a son. And then Parashara Muni continued his austerities, and he left her and went away. And this Vyasadeva, later on, we know he became Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, the author of all the Vedic literatures, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these are all, these happenings are all due to the arrangements of the Supreme Lord. For carrying out various activities, the Lord makes these great rishis and munis his instruments. Otherwise, personalities like Parashara Muni and all are not addicted to sense gratification, they are not into womanizing. It's not that they are hunting for women, it's not like that. When they have a certain role to play in the Supreme Personality of Godhead's activities, they perform their role and they continue with their spiritual activities. So therefore, because Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, who is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was a Shakyavesha Avatara, he was invested with the power to compile the Vedas. And such a great personality had to be born as the son of another great personality, and the Lord had decided that he would incarnate as the son of Parashara Muni. And Parashara Muni found that Satyavati is such a highly qualified woman, and this is a great opportunity for the Lord to manifest. And that is how he played his part in the incarnation of Vyasadeva. Now, Satyavati, although she had given birth to Vyasadeva, she was still a Kanya, she was still a virgin. And when Shantanu saw her, he got captivated by her beauty and by her qualities. And so he went to her father, the fisherman, her foster father, the fisherman, and he proposed to him. He introduced himself, saying that I am the king of this land, I am Shantanu, and I happen to see your daughter, and I liked her qualities and her beauty, and I want to marry her. I have come here with a proposal. And what did the fisherman do? The fisherman's response was, I am not interested in giving my daughter's hand to you. Why? Why are you? I am the king. The king is coming and asking for the hand of your daughter and you are refusing? The fisherman said, yes. Why? Because the children of my daughter will never become the king. You already have another son, Bhishma. He is going to become the king. Everybody knows he is the prince regent. So, what is the fate of my grandchildren? They will always remain subservient to Bhishma Deva. So, I don't want such a life for them. Better she marries some lesser person, but they will be independent and they will not be subservient to anyone. This was the thinking of the fisherman. Shantanu Maharaj was disappointed and he said, okay, fine, you have your reasoning. There is, it is quite reasonable whatever you have said. So, I accept your words, and he went back. Now, Bhishma Deva came to know that what had happened, and he came to understand that his father Shantanu is very depressed because he wanted to marry Satyavati, but he was rejected. His offer was rejected. His proposal was not accepted. So Bhishma Deva said, okay, I will go and canvass on behalf of my father. A very unique situation. A grown-up son, an adult, he is going with a marriage proposal for his father. This was, because Kshatriyas, and it was a culture those days that the Kshatriyas could marry many queens. Because they could maintain them quite well and they would take very good care of them. Bhishma Deva took his proposal and went to the fisherman's place. And he said, I have come here on behalf of my father. I want to ask you why my father is the king of this country and you are refusing to give your daughter to him. What is the reason? Please tell me. The fisherman told him, you are the problem because you are going to become the king. Then Bhishma Deva said, oh, this is the problem. Then don't worry, I am giving you my word. I will never become the king. At least now agree to the proposal. Then the fisherman said, no sir, I am still not okay with your proposal. Bhishma Deva said, why? You said your objection was the children of your daughter, your grandchildren would not get to occupy the throne. And I have given up, I have abdicated the throne. So what is the problem? Then he said, the fisherman said, sir, I have full faith in you. It's not that I don't have faith in your words. I know you are a great personality. I've heard a lot about you and your word of honor. I can very well have faith in that. My worry is that tomorrow you will get married and then your children, because of the law of primogeniture, they will get the right to the throne. And the children of my grandchildren will again be on the streets. So I don't want such a situation. So Bhishma Dev said, oh really? That is the problem? Okay. So I am taking a vow right now. I will never marry. I'll remain a brahmachari throughout my life. When the fisherman heard this, he was shocked. He said, I never expected this. But he said, this is the vow I am taking. So please, now, do you have any more objection to this alliance proposal? Now this fisherman had run out of reasons. So he said, now I don't have any other reason. I am ready to give my daughter's hand to the king, Shantanu Maharaj. And that is how Shantanu Maharaj got wedded to Satyavati. In fact, when Shantanu Maharaj heard about the Bhishma Pratijna, the great vow which Bhishma had taken, a very difficult vow, but nonetheless a vow he took simply to please his father, Shantanu Maharaj felt so ingratiated. He blessed Bhishma Dev that, my dear son, you have taken such a great vow for me. So I bless you that unless you desire to die, death cannot force itself upon you. You will die only at the time and place of your choosing. Otherwise, you cannot die. This was the blessing that Bhishma Dev received from Shantanu. And this forms the background in which the whole Kurukshetra war happened and the Mahabharata started. This is the beginning of the Mahabharata. Now further what happened, who are the descendants of Shantanu Maharaj and Satyavati, we will see that in the next series. So thank you very much for joining with us today. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.